Hi, we're at the offices of Worldstrides in London and we're meeting Ian Peters, UK Sales Director.
I'm Ian Peters, I'm the UK Sales Director for Worldstrides, and I've been working for the company coming up to 2 years.
Tell me, how do you attract staff to your company? What benefits do you offer?
Well, one of the factors looking at recruiting sort of quality salespeople in London is the travel industry traditionally is not particularly well paid compared to some other sectors for salespeople. We've repositioned ourselves and looked at media and IT sales and the ability to attract people from right across the board, and hence our salaries are substantially higher than the traditional, and also our sort of commission and on-target packages are competitive with any sales market within London, with the belief that if you want to hire and retain the best talent, you've got to pay for it.
What do you look for in a CV or application?
It's a mixture of things. I mean, if the person has got travel industry experience, great. That can be very useful, but it's more about the person's overall aptitude, that yes, their education, level of intelligence, but I personally believe in hiring more on attitude than anything else, because at the end of the day, if a person's got the intelligence and the right attitude, you can teach them anything.
How many people have you interviewed this year?
Close on 70. But that was to fill, I think I've filled about 14 or 15 roles now. So,
can you explain a little bit more about your interview process?
Yeah, for the more senior roles, we do a 3-stage process because we're an American-based company. My boss is based in the States, so a more senior role, I will do a first interview and filter down to those that we want to shortlist, and then he will do a telephone interview or a Skype interview with them, and then I will do the final interview before we make a final decision. So some of the more junior roles, I have just done one interview. If the person comes across the right way and I think they've got the right sort of attitude, my gut instinct tells me that they're right for the job, then I just offer it. So I'll shortcut the system there because I don't see the point in making someone go through a second interview if I know they're right for the role anyway.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your induction program for new starters?
Yeah, we start them off where we just, ideally if we've got a small group of starters, we'll run it in a classroom type environment. We'll get all the initial paperwork done so they know they're going to get paid and all those things out of the way. And then we have a fairly comprehensive IT system they've got to learn, including a customer management piece of software. So we'll spend a couple of hours every day training them on that and testing them and making sure they're comfortable with it. And then we have a staged sales process that is mirrored within our software as well. And so across the week, I will run a complete sales course at the same time, and then they'll be introduced to their job and the desk in the second week, but not with any great expectations, just being softly and gently eased into the role. And we have an ongoing sort of coaching and mentoring process where the staff record and capture some of their own calls and evaluate them, and then they come and sit down with me once a week and work their way through those. And we'll just pick on 1 or 2 things they can work on as a sort of continuous improvement program. But there's never any surprises at the end of the day. Everyone knows exactly where they stand at any moment in time.
How costly is it when the recruitment process goes wrong?
It's extremely expensive. I mean, forgetting the actual recruitment costs, depending on what stage it goes wrong, if you've actually reached the point of hire, or maybe they've joined you, I think worst case scenario, I had one girl who left after a week when I'd spent the time training her, doing the induction, and she'd been offered another job that she'd been interviewing for at the same time as us, and decided that sales wasn't for her and she went for an operational role. It was a shame that didn't come out in the interview process, and obviously I can blame myself partly for not drawing out that and recognising it. But sometimes it can set you back 2-3 months in your overall plans for moving the business forward. So the actual financial costs can be £20,000-30,000 or more.
What do you believe makes staff happy, and what initiatives does your company offer to keep staff motivated?
I think there's a number of things make people happy or satisfied and feel complete at work. Short-term goals and rewards for salespeople are quite important, and we've got lots of little incentives we run on a sort of daily and weekly basis, because our sales process is broken down into steps rather than being purely based on the sale, because we have a relatively long sales cycle. Working in the education market, it can be 2 or 3 months before you complete a sale. So we recognise each stage of the sales process in terms of them bringing on board, new inquiries and people that are interested, through to quotation stage and so on. So little small incentives based around that, making sure that commissions are paid, that commission structures are clear and understood, nice and simple to understand, and people get paid what they expect when they expect it. I think that's one important side of it. Benefits include things like mobile phones and laptops, so we've got flexibility if they need to work from home occasionally, we can facilitate that. Also, when they travel, we provide a hire car, and we also provide them with a credit card, so they're not incurring expenses out of their own pockets, because there is occasional staying away in hotels and travelling up and down the country required. And during the term time, when we're our busiest and they need to be speaking to teachers around lunchtime, we get lunch brought in for them from a local deli and bakery. They can choose whatever they want each day off a menu. But also the fact that people feel like they're being listened to and they're being developed within their role. So they're part of the company, not just being managed. They are helping bring the business forward themselves. And as they help grow the business in the UK, then they're creating opportunity for themselves as well. So I think people have to have some vision of where they're going in the future. So we just try to look after them as much as we can.
How do you value the office environment as a retention or attraction tool?
I think it's fairly important. Location within London is fairly critical in itself, because getting around London's a lot harder than people that from outside London realise. And being in the wrong part of London could cause a problem. And also being in a decent, smart, modern building with decent facilities, I think, is quite important. It's like anywhere where your first impressions when you go for an interview. If you're walking into a place that looks like nobody cares about it and it's tired and run down, you're thinking, well, what's the attitude of the company towards its staff if they're letting them work in that kind of environment?